Yo friends, welcome back to my channel. And you often watch some Hindus claim that atheism is part of Hinduism, and when they claim that, they're generally referring to the school of Charvaka as an evidence. But there's a lot more to that claim, and in this video, that's what we will be examining. That claim. Now, the Charvaka school of philosophy was an ancient school of philosophy in ancient India, which rose in around 600 BCE. It was also known as Lokayata back then, and it's defined as an heterodox school of philosophy which was based on a materialistic and atheistic outlook on life. Now, although other materialistic schools also existed back then, Charvaka was the one that was the most popular and probably the only one which systematized the materialistic outlook by putting them down in forms of aphorisms, which is pretty important. Written form of documentation is very important. So, the earliest Charvaka scholar whose written records still exist is Ajita Kesa Kambali. In fact, the existence and the philosophy of Charvaka is also mentioned in the popular Hindu mythology Ramayana, in which in chapter 108, which is the Ayodhya Kand, a Charvaka scholar called Javali is shown trying to persuade Ram to take the kingdom and kingship instead of going to exile using his Gnostic arguments. Gnostic is simply a Sanskrit word which means atheist. But interestingly enough, Ram ends up refuting and refusing the proposal and going to exile anyway in the next chapter, which kind of shows that it wasn't that accepted popularly, at least in the context, but we'll go to that later. This philosophy was a good, well-living philosophy, and the school was pretty important, has a quite importance back then, but it suddenly disappeared without any trace in around 12th century. It came to significance. It rose to significance along with the Buddhism and Jainism in the same period, which was during the Hindu reform period. And coming to now, most of the literature of Charvaka is completely lost. All that's known about that school is through secondary literature. There are heavy influences of Charvaka ideology in Buddhism and Jainism. In fact, there's quite a lot of reference to them in those scriptures and sayings. It's also mentioned in literatures of some Hindu scholars and poems and poets of back in the day, but their own literatures, especially the primary one, which is the Brihaspati Sutras, is completely lost. There's no record of that. Now let us look into the Charvaka philosophy, what they were about and what their outlook on life was. Let's move on to that philosophy. As mentioned earlier, Charvaka school of philosophy is categorized as a heterodox school of philosophy, which is based on the materialistic and atheistic outlook on life. Now, according to Charvaka philosophy, whenever inferring a source of knowledge, we need to acknowledge the possibility of doubt. In fact, inference is considered an incomplete source of knowledge because it can have personal and opinionated bias on it. Only perception and sensory experiences are considered as the true source of proper knowledge or truth. In fact, according to Charvaka's belief system, there are two forms of perception. There is external perception and there is internal perception. External perception is defined external perception is considered as the one that comes when your five senses, sight, vision, hearing, taste, smell, touch, those five senses come into interaction with worldly objects, the basic way we survive. That's the external perception. And internal perception is considered as the one that comes from your inner sense or the mind, your thought, your intellect, etc. Inference, on the other hand, is described as coming to a conclusion based on earlier perceptions or other observations. The older truth coming to a conclusion of a new truth, which is why it's considered to be incomplete, because you're not getting a first-hand experience of it. In fact, in Charvaka philosophy, as long as the relationship between two phenomena or observations are not confirmed, is considered an uncertain truth. Hence, Charvaka rejects metaphysics and supernaturalism. The Charvaka philosophy can be explained with the example of fire and smoke. When you see smoke, the general consensus is to jump to the conclusion that there must be a fire the smoke is coming from, which is true in most of the cases, but we do know exceptions where smoke can exist without a fire, or at least something that resembles smoke. And as long as you don't see the fire the smoke is coming from, you cannot say with 100% certainty that there must be a fire because you saw smoke. That's the philosophy is about. And now this is the basic philosophy of Charvaka. Now let us look at the claim of the existence of atheism inside Hinduism, or the Hindu atheist. Before I proceed with this cross-examination of the claim, since you have watched this far, you can subscribe to the channel, give a like if you like this video, share it with your friends, especially the ones who claim about the Hindu atheist. Moving on to the topic. The funny thing is, since Charvakas only consider perception as a true form of acquiring knowledge, they don't believe in believing stuff that they cannot cross-examine, which is the general atheist overview, which doesn't really translate into the Charvaka philosophy, hence rejects the possibility of metaphysical concepts like rebirth, afterlife, soul, religion, other worlds like heaven and hell, karma, fate, paap, punya. The Charvakas also reject the use of supernatural causes to explain natural phenomena. Now, if you know anything about Hinduism, along with other religions, this is all that the religion revolves around. Hindus have gods. In fact, it's a polytheistic religion, so there's thousands, crores of gods, while Charvakas reject the possibility of existence of God. In fact, they reject religion as a whole, Hinduism being one of the religions. The concept of rebirth and repetitive cycle of life till you pure yourself is a primary concept in Eastern philosophical religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, etc. Another thing completely rejected and refuted by the Charvakas. one more funny thing is Charvakas. Traditionally, Hindus claim the Hindu mythical creature or character Brihaspati as the founder of Charvaka philosophy. Now, Brihaspati is a mythological being, a concept that is rejected by the Charvakas. This is also the funny case that happened with Buddhism. Like Buddha rejects the rigid explanation of gods that we find in religions, including Hinduism. In fact, Buddhism and Jainism emerged in a Hindu society to get out of Hinduism, giving people a better way of life, of peace that doesn't require the nonsensical rituals and beliefs and discrimination you face in a Hindu society. But Hindus claim that Buddha himself is some 14th or something avatar of a Hindu mythical god. Pretty lame excuse, which is the same case with Charvaka. Like they claim Charvaka philosophy came from Brihaspati, a concept that is completely rejected by Charvakas. In fact, scholars refute the claim that Charvaka philosophy came from Brihaspati. The origin of Charvaka is not known because the textures have lost its way, which also says a lot about the acceptance of Charvaka philosophy in Hindu India. If the Charvaka philosophy, the atheism of Charvaka life, the Charvaka ways was accepted as part of the Hindu society, it wouldn't have completely vanished out of a sudden. Philosophical concepts and text vanish when someone forcefully takes action to get rid of them, which also there's no record of it, but that's the greater chance of something that has happened with Charvaka school of philosophy. It cannot simply vanish out of existence if someone didn't take action towards that happening, someone in power. And back in the days, India was a Hindu dominant region. There wasn't any invaders till then and all. So now the claim about atheism being born in India is not wrong. Atheism did emerge in ancient Indian society, which was predominantly a Hindu society. Now, ancient India wasn't 100% Hindu, but it was mostly Hindu. Even back in the days, there were isolated tribes and all which weren't Hindus. Tribes that still exist in isolated forms, like Nagaland and all. Even in regions, the northeast, in many parts of India, tribes exist who don't belong to any popular religion. That was also the case back then. So atheism did emerge in that society, but that doesn't make it a part of Hinduism. The same way Buddhism emerged in a Hindu society, but it emerged as a way to get out of the Hindu society that wasn't that good. No. So also, if you go through any secondary mainstream of Charvaka, as we know, the school of Charvaka's literature has lost its way. To everything we know about the school of Charvaka comes from secondary forms literature. It's mentions in scriptures of Buddhism, Jainism, and other scholars, the Hindu texts as well. In all of which they are declared as worse than they were. They have always been displayed in negative form because they weren't accepted, they were considered they weren't considered part of the society, they weren't considered as a path people should take, which is why they somewhat, as I have said earlier, they somewhat vanish. That doesn't happen when people accept them. So coming to the conclusion is atheism community existence by itself in a Hindu dominant society. Yeah, that also happened in Christian dominated society, Islam dominated society, and many other ancient societies beside India. But Is atheism part of Hinduism? No, a big fucking no. Even if you claim to be a Charvaka, that doesn't make you a Hindu, because Hindus didn't accept the philosophical school of Charvaka. Whether you were a Charvaka or you were a proper Hindu. Now back in the day, the term Hindu didn't have a rigid form like today, because the term Hinduism was formed. Hinduism as a religious term was formed later on. The terms were different back then, but the concept is same. If you follow a religion such as Hinduism, you are a Hindu. If you don't follow a religion and you are an atheist, then back in the day, since Charvaka was the primary, one of the most influential one, you were either a Charvaka or a Hindu. You were in both. So you cannot be a Hindu and an atheist. There are no such thing as Hindu atheist or Hindu Christian or Christian atheist or blah blah blah. You are either atheist or you are some religion, or you can be agnostic and others, but you cannot be part of a religion and be an atheist at the same time. Stop kidding yourself. And well, feel free. Do subscribe to the channel if you like it, and give a thumbs up. I would like to know your views in the comment section, and share with it your Hindu atheist friends. Let them know how wrong they are. Hope to see you again in the next video. Let me know what you want to see me make videos about next. I'm also active on our social media platforms, especially Instagram, link in the description below. Till then, stay above the crowd. Your video.